Well, good evening, everyone. I hope everybody had a great weekend. A little bit cold here in Orlando. It got down to at least 50 degrees. Woo! Everybody breaking out there's mucklucks and sweaters and cold weather gear that they brought from up north. Yeah. Okay. Come to biggest Idaho or Canada, the Great Northwest. We're going to be looking at the week ahead for the week of the 18th to the 22nd of November. I was realizing the other day that we've nearly lost the whole year. What have we done? Oh my goodness gracious sakes alive. All right, let's get started here then. Just before we get into any of this, I want to remind everyone that trading can involve the loss of capital. Make sure you only trade with any funds that you're able to withstand a loss on. Make sure you control your risks and make sure that it's appropriate for you what you do trade. All right, let's move on from there. For those who haven't been here before, I'm an ex-U.S. Air Force fighter pilot with master's degrees in both computers and in business. I've been an active trader since the dot bomb bubble in the late 90s. Full-time trader since 2009, 10 years. If I've managed to stay alive and not blow out my account in this long, I'm probably doing something right. Technical trader primarily, but I do use fundamentals as well, primarily to set myself up for things like earnings trades, short interest, that kind of thing. I do moderate for Hit and Run Candlesticks from time to time, fill in when necessary, and I do provide one-on-one mentoring. So if you're so inclined, want to have a free discussion on what we might be able to do together, please give me a shout. I love talking to fellow traders. All right, stick around to the end of the presentation. There's a special offer on Hit and Run and Right Way options. Be sure to check out the live Trading Alerts LTA scanner. Probably one of the best scanners that I've ever run across. No sound. Ken, you're going to probably have to, let's see. Try the red X in the upper. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Ed. Okay. The agenda. We're going to do the economic calendar and earnings calendar. We're going to do a market overview. We're going to use some trade ideas, and I have a bunch of them. We're going to do some Q&A, not stock specific, and I am not sure whether we'll have time for a look at your stocks, but if we do, only one per person, time permitting. I do have something I have to get to around just after 9 o'clock, so we'll go as fast as we can, but we're going to cover everything we can in that time. Economic reports. Starts off the week fairly benign. Housing market index on Monday, starts on Tuesday. Obviously, the petroleum report is on Wednesdays, but the biggie for the week probably is the FOMC minutes on Wednesday at 2 p.m. So be there, be square. Jobless claims weekly, Philly Fed on Thursday as well. Existing home sales come out on Thursday at 10. And our consumer sentiment out on Friday. Earnings calendar, getting very, very light here. We're into the tail end. The tail end usually means retail stocks and things like Home Depot, Kohl's, TJ Maxx, Urban Outfitters, Macy's, JW Nordstrom's, Gap, and Williams Sonoma Ross stores. Those are the biggies that show up. Again, I am only highlighting those that have about 480,000 shares or more and that do actually move. The ones that don't move don't get up or make my list here. Oh, I did forget Target, I think, on Wednesday, Thursday. Then in yellow, are the stocks that have high short interest. And you can see a lot of the retailers have bets against them. So watch for moves. We'll cover, I think, which one was it? It might be Urban Outfitters. One of them is on the list for me to go over. All right, let's go over the market overview here. All right, let's go. First, I'd like to start off with oil. Oil's bumping up against this $58 level. It's been there a couple of 3 times already. Stochastics RSI is in the middle, so it's kind of indecisive. If we break this 58 level, I think we go to 59.5 fairly quickly. If we don't, we come back to 56.60 or lower, maybe even as low as 56 bucks. So let's keep an eye on that if you're an oil trader. Gold. If you're a gold bug, we've been in this established downtrend. I'm going to back out a little bit to the 6-month chart. William, ask me in a little bit and I'll show you exactly where I get it. But right in here, there is the daily. We've busted to the bottom or near the bottom of this channel. And as long as we stay in that channel, you know, the trend is your friend. We're going to have to bust out the top of the channel and possibly even, I've been looking at around 1520 to 1525. It might be a little bit lower than that now before you could get a tradable high, but I'm going to make it do higher highs and higher lows. And you notice that once we actually got in an uptrend back over here, if I back it off to a 9-month chart and back it off here, you see once we did the breakout here, we had an opportunity at over 1340. We had plenty of time to get 200 to 220 bucks here. So there's time. You don't feel like you have to anticipate the move. Just trade the move. Trade what you see. Trade the chart. S&P, nice move on Friday. The bulls were out in force, and we're kind of consolidating that move. I did not get a really fantastic forecast of that move from the Stochastics RSI, but again, if you look back here in late October, we got down to about the midpoint, 40% level. Again, at a 45% level here on the Stochastics. Just recently, we moved higher. These are the strongest of the strong moves. Some of the weaker or stronger moves, as far as order of magnitude, are when we get a pullback into the 20 to 30 region. So what I think we're going to potentially do is grind a little higher. It would really be healthy if we could pull back to 1385 or so. But I've got 1383 because of the volume and price levels here, these little skyscrapers sitting on their side. If, yeah, Rickster, that's a good one. FinViz also has one too, and I can show you how you can do an entire group of stocks. What we got here is if you want to know about how you use this on Thinkorswim, we've got a short video presentation on my YouTube channel, which I'll post in a minute. The link. And now, kind of hold a little high and tight. We have to wait. We got a long time between now and tomorrow morning. It'd be healthy also if we could pull back on this one, 27,660 or so. If we held that, that would be absolutely fantastic. It would allow us to have a very good idea of where stocks will be holding their support levels, and we could get a tight stop on any longs that we were doing. NASDAQ, this one's been the strongest of the indices so far. The Stochastics RSI, right here, you can notice it was basically up and above the 80 percentile level for quite a while. It's pulled back a little bit, nothing to be afraid of. Again, the volume and price levels show about 82 and a quarter, maybe 81. Even as far as 81, that would scare some people off a little bit, but maybe give us some slightly better entry on some of those stocks and symbols. Russell, over the last week and a half to 2 weeks, it's pretty much gone sideways at the prior highs. So these are all-time highs, but we really couldn't get any momentum going. On the good side, momentum, we were basically gathering momentum, gathering steam for the next move, higher or lower, and price wasn't coming back down. It was basically holding steady, just under the 1600 level. So to me, this bodes well, and Russell has been very sensitive to any news about trade negotiations. I have no idea why the multinationals wouldn't be more affected, but hey, ours is not the reason why. Ours is just to get here and trade the charts. VIX down at 12. Man, I didn't think we were going to get that low, but let's. We do have a lot of room to the upside on the VIX, but if we get any fear in there, we could get another big spike. But right now, doesn't seem to be a whole lot of fear out there in the markets. Let's go back to look ahead. Okay, we did our market overview. Here are the trade ideas, and these are just some that made the cut. I had a number of others that were out there. It's a bit difficult to find long trade ideas with us sitting at all-time highs there, but there are a few. Short trade ideas, because we're in a good solid uptrend. I don't like to short stocks that are in uptrends, even no matter how overbought they might get. So these are going to be a little limited. Let's go on over to TC2000 and look at those. In the longs, I'm going to alphabetical order. ABMD, nice consolidation here. If I go to a 3-day chart, you can see how the consolidation is working there, or even on a weekly. But you can see it really well on the 3-day. You also see on a 3-day that you had a huge drop down in August. That would probably have been on earnings or some other news announcement there. But we can get above 225 or so. We could probably run 25 bucks in a heartbeat. So earnings are not out till January. Medical devices, a couple of them showed up on my list. Aflac got over 54. That's been the level I've been watching for the last couple of weeks. I think it goes up to this 57. Not getting a whole lot of help from stochastics RSI as far as timing goes, but we could grind higher, especially if the markets keep going the way they have. Amphenol, nice good pullback here. J-hook in the making. A retest of this 104.5 to 105 level is probably in the cards. And if we look at the area chart, this 104 to 105 level that I was talking about is all-time high. So if we can get back up over those, this level, say, right here, that's kind of why we did the pullback, I'm sure. This would be an important level for me to watch. Car. Avis is in that, it's not a gap, but it's a trading range area that I'm looking at. We got up to this level of 31.75. That's probably, I marked 31 bucks, but 31.75 is probably a more critical area when I look at it here. If we get above this, there's almost no resistance to that in 36 bucks. So keep an eye on that. It doesn't report again until February. And it's looking pretty decent. One thing that's a negative here that jumps out at me is the balance of power. The balance of power right here is not very strong. In fact, it's quite negative. However, that is a secondary indicator. Raj, that's probably an internet connection. go on over to Cat. Cat did a little breakout and did exactly what we expected it to do. It came back to the breakout level and breakout area, and it looks like it's trying to curl back up. If we go look at the area chart, we do have overhead resistance. We've done basically, let's see what we got here. We did this pullback, and now we're starting to curl back up, and you notice that on the 50 period moving average here. The 10 period and weekly is 50 day. The 50 is starting to curl back up. It's above the 200. So I'm looking for the possibility of Cat, especially if we could have some good news in the trade arena. Exports, Cat does a significant amount of exports. So good balance of power down here. So let's keep an eye on Cat as well. Probably need to get over about 146. Chegg. Do I think it's a bit extended from the 50? Yeah, it's the 45-degree angle. But I tend to use the 3, 8, and 17. I don't tend to trade and hold for 50 days. So therefore, the fact that it's pointing up and we're going higher, I've been watching the 3, 8, and 7. Sorry, the 8 and the 17, which got right in here, and it started to curl back up. But if you're a longer term trader, maybe that could be a factor. But let me bring up one. Yeah, Costco back over here. And this is only beginning of this 2019. We were way above the 50, and we kind of went higher, and then we went sideways and let the 50 catch up. Then we got there and let the 50 catch up. Is that same going to happen with Cat? Whoops. Are we going to go sideways? Possibly. I don't know. I think in the near term, this little J-hook is in the offing. We're coming to stochastics RSI with good bop, curling back up. It's worth a shot because we got a pretty well-defined stop level. So for me, that could be worth a shot with the right entry. Yeah, okay, and also for Cat, I'd have to be expecting it to at least retest this area here, the recent swing high, and probably start to attack these highs up here around 150. So that's what I'd be counting on. All right, FitB. I've noticed a number of financials showing up on the scan list. Some of them are better than others. Some don't move nearly enough or have a good enough reward to risk ratio, but some do. So we're seeing some strength in there. This one, looking for really a retest, and this one I almost didn't put it on the list, but I wanted to have some that weren't $200 worth, so that you could have some traders. I think it probably goes up to this $31 level. Does it have a chance to go to 32 to 34? More than likely it does. With rising rates, the banks tend to do better. However, that said, this one doesn't move a lot. It loses only 72 cents a day, and you can see it's a bit of a stodgy one. If you can get a tight enough stop, maybe you can enter that. But I personally would move on to a different one because I'd rather use options to go after ones that have more potential to move. IBB, it's another one of those with good potential. It looks like it's breaking out above the 111 area towards the 115. The only problem here would be, where would your stop be? You might want to let this one do a little bit of a breakout, maybe a pullback, maybe reconfirm what it's going to hold, and then go long on that one. So that one's a little bit on the tough side, and I'm telling you, I'm showing you some of the stocks that are just kind of on the cusp. Over the last 2 months, I probably would not have even paid any attention to them, but we have stocks that are kind of in pause mode, or ones that are extremely extended. Speaking of that, why don't I jump back? I meant to do the T2122. I probably ought to keep that in my list. Let me go over the lines. See, T2122, last week we said we were at the 50% level, and that we zoomed up here to 75 over the week. We're now above my pullback zone. My pullback zone historically is around 85 to 95, and the bounce zone is anywhere down in here 7.5 to 20. I'm going to back way off. And if you see, every time that we get up into here, we pull back. Not necessarily that much in the stock, because if you look back here in January, February, when we got way overbought after the lows of October to December, we started our turnaround, and we would get up and down, but we kind of maintained that quote overbought unquote area for quite some time, and price kept rising until we got 2.5 to 3 months of it that finally they had to say, you know what, we need to take a substantial break here. We did a pullback. The blue line is the S&P 500, the cash, but I think we're in an area that we could be pulling back. We're getting more participation. That's why 75 to 25, a 3-to-1 ratio of new monthly highs over new monthly lows. So I was getting a bit concerned that we're going up on less and less breadth, but that was kind of fixed on Friday. But now we're still in that back in the pullback zone. Unless you can find an individual security that is on its own page, the overall market will probably be in a pause or pullback mode. All right, let's go back over to IOVA, Iovance. Another biotech. Some biotechs are showing up. That's why BIIB shows up, or IBB, sorry, shows up. And this one is probably going to retest this 23.88 and probably even 26. It's a nice lower dollar stock, good balance of power. Keep that on your list. And if it gets over, say, 23 bucks, yeah, let's see right in here. Okay. Because they're at $23 level, I think it's a buy. I agree with Ed, Patrick. No, not intraday. Johnson & Johnson had an excellent day on Friday, along with most drug and medical plan companies. You're going to see, I didn't put it on. Because it's a bit extended, United Health had a huge run. There was news about Democratic candidates, primarily Elizabeth Warren, softening their views on how they would fund Medicare for all. So that's kind of what got us into the downswing here before, and I have January 2021 $240 calls. So I think we hit back up to 286. Is that going to be a straight line? Probably not. I don't really care. I'll sell upside calls against it all the time and just create an income stream. All right, there's J&J. I think it goes up to 140 and even 142 or higher. At some point, 144 to 145. I got it on a dip on United Health. So my strike was out there at 240. I was looking for anywhere the 70 to 75% level. It's pretty darn expensive. I think it was, I want to say it was $30 to $35, so pretty expensive. But if you, I apply the 70 to 75% rule that I do on the shorter term trades as well. I don't want to let them get to it. Now, when we dip down to this 210 level, um, I was wondering what was going to happen, but we did basically a double bottom here in United Health, and I was concerned that we were not. Once we did down here and went back up to 260, or the long term, this high volume spike down here was going to get retested at around 217 to 220. Didn't know how long or how short it would be. The notice that when we did the rally here, that the balance of power never really got very positive. It still stayed negative, and only just recently, in the last 30 days or so, it turned positive. Yeah. Delta 0.7. Give me a second there, William. Can you when we get to the? Can you hold those questions till we get to the question time? I'd sure appreciate that. Urban reports on the 19th. The only reason I left this in here because it has levels above which I think we could get to. If it does a nice surprise here because it has high short interest, we could get a rally. The only negative to that is that we have already rallied off the bottom from 20 to 31. So we've done a 50% rise over the last 2 months or so. So that might limit how much upside we have. But if anybody was looking for a day trade on this puppy, that could be a good one if it's aftermarket. I do not ever trade aftermarket except to sell. If I were carrying stocks into earnings, I would sell into a gap up into good news, but I never initiate until regular trading hours the following day. And I don't do it during pre-market hours either. I can probably show you at any given week a dozen stocks that gap up and give it all back. And if you go to my YouTube channel, if you look for trading gaps, you'll find a 1 hour presentation on trading gaps, what I look for, and how to try to avoid and minimize the gap and crap using a 5-minute opening range. All right, let's go over here to United Technologies. UTX is about to split off some of its stuff and merge with Raytheon, but it's on a tear here. Stochastics RSI is curling up. Yes, it's extended, but the best of stocks could say extended as far longer than we could stay solvent trying to short them. VMware is having a change of character. If you look at the EMA only chart, you can see how we were in a downtrend for a while, and now we're curled back up. So just looking for an entry here. I think we go up to the 178 level pretty fast, and that's $10. Did a little J hook here on the daily. I think this 175 to 180 level is ripe for pickings, and even maybe 183. So VMware, it reports at the end of the month, so we really only have 8 to 10 days. So you may want to be cautious of that one. I just noticed that. Wyndham Hotels, the big WH, if it can get over this $56 level, it can grind its way up above 60 pretty fast. I put XLV up here because the healthcare sector took off on Friday. I did show a couple of them, J&J. We've got United Health. One of the things you might want to do then is drill down. If you have TC2000, you go over here in the upper left-hand corner, open the component list, and then you could probably search for percentage chains. Anthem, Humana, CNC, all the healthcare plans shot up, primarily on that news that I was talking to you about. So this helps when you see any of these things that are moving. You can immediately, during the day or after hours, whenever you notice it, go in there, and then you could drill down inside that sector and find out what other stocks are moving, what stocks within that sector are moving. Okay, let's go to Zillow. I'm long Zillow from down in here. It has a high float short. I think this first level of 42 is definitely within striking distance, and maybe even 46. So I'm watching it pretty closely. Balance of power is not helping me. Stochastics RSI, it's not at the bottom, but it can stay grinding higher like it did back here in late October. I want to bring up DXCM, not as a trade, but there's people that poo-poo the fact that a stock gaps up quite substantially, and they go, it's too far extended, I can't get long. Well, DXCM, and I'm going to show you now short interest, DXCM. It only has 6% of the float short, but it's not a lot. But a lot of these times when they get a surprise on earnings after, say, this consolidation, they'll get a good solid move up at a 30 to 45 degree angle, a 30 to 45 degree rudder. And that's what this one did. Now, another way to do that, I'm going to go ahead and cover now, is I put in a list of stocks that were on the Friday list, Gap, Intuit, JW Nordstrom, Ross, Spelunk, WSM. Did the sort, went over here to ownership, and sorted the float short. So if you had a list of stocks rather than just one individual one, you could find that JW Nordstrom, Gap, and Williams-Sonoma all have high short interest, over 10%. Now, the people here at FinViz think that it has to be 20% or more to be high. I've noticed good runs on surprises of anything more than 10. But you got to get that surprise, you got to get that jump up. So those are two ways that I find them. They are anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks behind in the data. So you're not going to get instantaneous data. I'm not sure who gets instantaneous data, if anyone, without paying an arm and a leg. Well, let's go on over to our shorts. Keep moving. We might be able to get to our Q&A. BR, Broadridge Financial. As you can see that it was in an uptrend from about 100 up to 130 or so. Then it kind of rolled over a little bit, went flat. Excuse me one second. All right, and then here lately in the last week or so, we gapped down. Based on the February earnings, that was probably an earnings gap. Along with this move down here was probably also earnings. I'm thinking, this 200 is trying to hold, but for me, the major moving averages, the 200, the 100, the 50, they only act as temporary support. Price is the level that's holding. Right here, we held 115. It did a bounce. We did kind of a reversion to the mean, and if we rolled over here, we could go short with a stop above 121. Okay, but definitely below this 117 level or so, it does look like a short. CCEP, Coca-Cola European Partners. Well, below this little level here around 51, we could go easily to 48. Now I'm going to show you Coke. Coke and its products did not do that well. Its last earnings was right here, I believe. Last week on the 5th, maybe. So maybe a week before that. But we gapped down. We're doing a reversion to the mean bounce. Until we get above above 53, I only call it a bounce. I don't call it anything. And for it to get out of danger area, it's got to get above this, pull back, establish a new solid low, and then start to curl back up. So right now, the only thing I'm looking for on Coca-Cola is to the downside unless it breaks 53. If it breaks 51.50, we probably got 50 and lower. I mean, it could be anything below 50. All right. Let's look at Church and Dwight. Again, massive move down. We tried to stabilize. We tried to stabilize at where we had congestion and price over here to the left. And there's a high volume low that's still sticking out here from February. Could we get as low as that? Possibly. I think Church and Dwight are the people that own Arm& Hammer or something like that. But regardless, we break below this $67, $66.50, $66.75 level. We've got a long ways to go. Potentially. All right. I should have actually taken this one off and gotten a flag. Let's come back to that. CMCSA. We got down to a level, bounced back up, a big bearish engulf on Friday. I think we go back down and retest at least 43.65. Is that enough for you? A little under $1? I don't know. This doesn't have a whole lot of dollars between it, but the 200 and even the lows down here around 41, and the high volume low was right here around 42. All those that could be in play. Oh, thanks, William. All right, I'm gonna tick off some gold bugs here, but gold doesn't look great. The gold miners GDX and GDXJ, the juniors, they're following gold to the downside. I don't get excited with either one of these. Are they possibly shorts? Possible. Gold has a tendency to flip around a lot. So if I were going to do any of these things, I would do them on a 2 or 3 day trade, and would even consider intraday trading them on a 60-minute chart or 30-minute. Last one here, and this is a REIT, OHI. I think we go down here towards the 200. I didn't choose the 200. I chose this level over here and then drew it across, and it just turned out to be where the 200 was. That rising 200 might get above it, and it'll break down below it. I think we are likely to zigzag lower. Down, whoops. Grabbed it too fast. There's the move down. There's the move up a little bit. Kind of like a bear flag, and then a move down to around the $38.75 to $39 level. Okay, CH Robinson Worldwide, great example of what I'm talking about. Talking about the huge move down, bounce, reversion of the mean, did about a 50% retracement of this move down from the gap, but right in here was probably a 25% to 1/3 bounce, and went back and did what? It retested the lows. So could you have traded from 77 to 74? Yeah, fairly easily. Now, right now, it's trying to stabilize here. It is not a short in my mind. Not at all. This 74 was out of nowhere. 74 was picked out just from this level right here. Mel, this has been recorded. We'll post later. Okay. Let's see. Look ahead. All right. For those who are not members of Hit and Run Candlesticks or Right Way Option, there is a trial, 2-month trial. Hang on to that, Mike. I'll come back to it. A 2-day sorry, 2 month trial, $50. Sorry, 49. I lied. For either of the rooms, either one, give you an opportunity to stick around, see what we do, and learn what you can, and decide whether you want to stick around for the long term or not. I think once you try it, you'll be pleasantly surprised. And we'd just love to have you come around and be a member with us. Now, Mike, were you talking about one of these stocks being a pinball? Possibly. I am not a pinball expert or a wizard at all. I don't like stocks that are in downtrends and doing counter trend trades, and the pinball is a counter trend trade. So I don't focus on that at all. So, CHRW. Yeah, check out, do a Google on pinball pattern and Rick Sadler in YouTube, and you'll find a good description of that. All right. Any could be an intraday trade, Patrick. I focus on, when I do day trades, I start with a good daily chart. If it doesn't have a good daily chart, I'm not going to day trade it. All right, and then I drill down to 60, 30 minutes. It's got to have a good hourly chart, a good 30-minute chart. Now let's look at some of the longs here. Let me figure out one. Okay, well, let's go back into history. I had 256.50 marked up on United Health. It broke above that and pulled back and retested it. So what did it do intraday? That's a 30-minute chart. I could do it even on a 15-minute chart, but let's stay with the 30 for now. It did a breakout, and what did it do? It pulled back to the breakout level. So now I'm basically saying I could either go long, as it proved that 256.50 was a level that it wanted to hold, or I could wait for the breakout again. And it moved. It moved like a scalded dog. Now, yes, well, let's look at the 5-minute chart. Well, 5-minute chart wasn't all that fantastic early in the day. Let me get it. But it wasn't bad. It came back and did a retest. Could probably trade that. I don't know what kind of time frames you like to trade when you say intraday, but I like to see a good 15-minute chart, a good 30-minute, a good 60-minute chart. And let's see, I'm using the step ahead feature. I think it was right around noon that Nancy Pelosi, Elizabeth Warren made her announcement, and then that's when we took off. And so any of these stocks could be day traders. You just have to figure out. There's a 30-minute chart of BMW 60. If you're looking for day trades, come into the room and sign up for just sign up for the LTA scanner. It will give you tons of intraday day trade setups. Now, a setup that shows on a scanner or anything like that it's not a buy signal necessarily in and of itself. It's a candidate. It's a trade idea. You have to then figure out whether you like the setup yourself. Now, go out to my YouTube channel, and you will find. Let's go ahead right here. Hold on. Oh, no, there's YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel, and then search for day trade, or day trading, or day trade. I have all the setups, about an hour presentation that I give away to try to help people. And when people say, well, why do you give it away? I mean, you're giving away all your secrets. No, I'm only giving you part of it. I'm giving you the setups, but if you don't know the context from which it's in or all the little nuances, you're probably still not going to be successful. You're going to need to take that information and you're going to need to apply it with all the other little nuances that we teach in the room or in individual coaching that make you an extremely profitable trader. All right. You also have got my stock twits. I'm trying to do more posting out to stock twits intraday, but at least every night I'll go out there and I will post the ones that I see. I posted Zillow. I posted United Health, URI, and J&J. So those have all been posted in pretty much real time. All right, I'm going to open it up. I know we have a few. Do not put any stocks. I've got a little bit of time here for general questions. We might get to the individual stocks, but I want the general questions, not stock specific, first. I know we had a couple. Could you repost them? I think it was William wanted to know what the 75% rule is. Okay, let's do this. Sorry, you were asking when I was talking about United Health. Go to the Analyze tabs, and let me show you that I would look in here, 240. I would be looking anywhere right at around 70 to 75, and that's delta, 0.70 to 0.75. So, hey, Patrick, I'll answer your questions next week after you look at the video. How's that? Deal? All right. And so that's what it is. It's delta. If I were to be looking at URI. Now, here's the problem with URI. I was looking at the Januaries. The reason I'm not in it, and the reason it didn't show up on your list, is that 0.70, it has good open interest. Open interest I like to see somewhere around 10 times what I'm going to get in. But if I was trading 10 contracts, I want at least 100, maybe 1,000, something like that, but way up there. Well, if you only trade 2 or 3 or 4, the one problem we had, was it with URI, was something else then. This one has pretty expensive, 33% volatility. It has, a little bit of a spread, and it's only 80 cents at the close, and we're closed. So it's probably only about 20 to 40 cents intraday. But you'd have to spend $1,400 a contract. You'd have to put $2,800 at a minimum trade. And you can see how I was looking to try to do a spread and get a credit spread. It would only get 145 on 5. It probably just barely meets the criteria. I was waiting for URI in probably a breakout, maybe not a breakout. I don't initiate on Friday long trades normally, so that's probably why I talked myself out of it. But it does look like it's pretty decent. Okay. Greg Singleton, what's the market historical trend between now and Thanksgiving? From now through the end of the year is bullish. 30 to 45 days, Steve. No less than 30. I'd like to see $1.50, William. That's why that one was a little low. Greg's still now on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Monday. Oh, I don't have it with me. We've got my phone. There's a seasonal trade that starts in the next week or so and goes through the first week of December. that's usually pretty good. So we're talking about a week from now. No, I don't use Trade Hawk, especially now that they've got very low commissions. I use Thinkorswim. No, Kevin. The reason I don't do that is I only play the uptrend. Now, if you want to hedge, that's a whole different story. If you're trying to hedge your long positions, you're out longs and you don't want to get rid of them, you could use SPY or Q puts or individual puts against your holdings, or at least some of them. Let's get rid of this. When we're in an uptrend, let me get rid of that three. When we're in an uptrend, I only trade in the direction of the trend. So if we're going up, I might think of that's not an hourly chart to me. I only think of this as a possible sell. Sell if I take profits, kind of a take profit type of sell, not sell to go short. So even if we should get a nasty candle on Monday or Tuesday, I still think we're only going to pull back. I would be waiting and looking for and pouncing on the rebound. If I'm long, like I am long Zillow, I'm going to watch to see if the markets go south. But this thing's been defying the markets. It's on its own page. Why? Because it reported better than expected earnings. It's probably going to be more like a 30-degree angle, and it has high float. So I'm watching for it to float up to 42. Is it going to be a zigzag pattern up, especially if the markets pull back? Yeah, but it's called not trying to predict, or it's not an ATM machine where it exactly has to do this, that, and the other. But the odds are this one's going to float higher. United Health. Odds are this one's going to consolidate because we got up to this 266.50 and the 272 and a quarter level. We ran into sellers. It got extended. Yeah. But time's on my side. All right. Any other questions? All right. One stock only. Tell me whether you're long, short, looking long, looking short. And we'll do what we can. I can probably go about 5 or 10 minutes beyond what we have at the moment. Okay. Let's go to daily. Williams and Disney. Good job. All right. What did Disney do? Good earnings. And then on the 12th, I have no idea why it took people so long to realize that Disney Plus was coming out on the 12th. And that Disney Plus, because they were pricing it aggressively, that it wasn't going to get a good pop. Now I've got some long-term Disney stock from back here around 32. I've only got a couple hundred shares, so I've held it. I've held it through the pullbacks. On a long-term basis, I'm a believer in Disney that they'll figure it out. All this stuff about ESPN, they'll figure it out one way or the other. I mean, that was one of those core holdings for me. Because I have friends that work for Disney. There are certain things I like about it. There are a lot of things I don't like about the company. But the one thing they do is they have done good acquisitions when they did, well, when you got Marvel, you've got Pixar, and you've got Star Wars. Now you've got some Fox, The Simpsons and stuff. I mean, you've got some good stuff there. So they're gonna find a way to monetize it. Well, you asked what's happening. We did a move up and a pullback. Did a move? Gee, I was sitting on the other one, so what in the world? move up, pull back, move up, zigzag, pull back. Probably a move back up above 146-ish and establishes a new low. How far is it going to pull back? I don't rightly know. The volume is on the pullback is really low. The the stock actually started to be accumulated a little bit on the day before earnings, but really after earnings. So I think it's a good long, William. Now, are you already long or are you looking to go long? If you're looking to go long, I would wait for the break back over 147 probably. If you're already long, hang on. Okay. Richard Funk wants to look at Momo. Hey, Richard, how's it going? Well, 3750 to 4075. It's looking pretty good. Good balance of power. Stochastics RSI is curling up from the bottom. I think it's a go. It would be for me. Now, if you're not in it already, the problem is where's the stop? Probably have to drill down to a 60. Maybe 37 and a quarter, so $1 below would be the tightest that I think you could get it. Maybe 37.50 to 37.75. If you're not in Momo. Next reporting is 11:26, so be careful. Momo only has 8 days to report. So we should be looking all the time at when the reporting time is. Yep. Oh, you said that. If you're already long, ride it for a while and see how high it gets. You have to decide whether you hold over earnings or not. Roku. I'm going to extend this line right here. And it looks like could be there, could be there, could be there. I'm going to say 169 to 173. Somewhere in that ballpark is where you're going to possibly run into some resistance. Now we had the downtrend. It looks like it's turned back up into a short-term uptrend, but we did have this zigzag down, I believe, on earnings, and it was not well received. But afterwards, we got a rally. I think 169 to even this trend line are possibilities. Now, if you're not long this one, I'd wait for a consolidation or pullback. It's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days up. Kind of hard to say go long after 6 days up. Bob wants to look at Amcor. I think $15 wants to get retested. And you could have a stop probably as close as 12.5 with a long over 13.5. Risk 1 to gain 1.5. Love it. Okay, rad. I have a problem with any stock that does reverse splits. They're usually bankruptcies waiting for a time to happen. Rite Aid kind of goes along with Radio Shack and J.C. Penney's. Right now, in the very short term, I think it wants to go back up and retest this swing level, 1150, 1125. Do you have a good enough stop from a swing perspective? Risk 50 to possibly get $1.25. It does show that, but I tend not to look at stocks below 10 or 5, and stocks that have reverse splits like this are almost immediately off my list. So that's a bias I have, but it's a bias based upon experience of It's hurt me. I'd do it if I didn't have any other choices there, though. Medtronic. In fact, a lot of the medical devices are looking pretty decent right now. Industry. And one of the things I'll do with the industry here is I'll do market cap. And I'll sort by market cap. And we'll start things like Abbott Labs, Medtronic, Stryker. Why are they running? Same thing. Democrats, the fear of the Democrats changing the healthcare payment system. So they're actually doing a relief rally of sorts. Okay, let's go back over to Medtronic. Looks pretty good. Watch for the breakout over 112. You might get a pause or pullback here, but keep it on your watch list. If you're already long, if you haven't taken profits, I'd do that right. The first sign of weakness at all. JM1CRWD. You're welcome, Dolores. No more stocks, please. I'm going to have to get out of here as soon as I can. CrowdStrike in a downtrend. Change in the downtrend here. Let's look at I'm looking more from the top. Something like that, maybe a little bit wider. But we broke the downtrend. Now what I'm going to have to do, we've established a higher high. Now we need to establish, okay, let me do this differently. Higher high. Let's establish a higher low and then a curl back up. Your stop can be right under, you go long right above it. I know I'm a broken record, but this works. Wait for the move up. Wait for the inevitable pullback or pause. It establishes a low and then starts to move higher. You get a buy signal and you could go long with that buy signal with a very tight stop. These are perfect for day trading, Patrick. In fact, any time frame. AMAT. AMAT is one of those 11/14. It reported on the evening of the 14th. It gapped up. All right, the first thing I'm going to go look at is short squeeze. Let's see how much short it is. Only 2%. So does this have a potential for a 45-degree runner? Edit. Green. Set as default. Yes. All right, let me go to the area chart. It's at all-time highs now, right at. Watch for consolidation or slight pullback, and then you can go long. AMAT looks really good. Teva. Let me do it like this. Okay, hold on. I just added AMAT to the long list. Whoops. Teva trying to complete our rounded bottom breakout as it goes up here. Are you long Teva already? I hope, Clace, Mr. Spurlock. If so, we're probably trying to head towards this 1135 level. Good balance of power. Stochastic's a little overbought. Watch maybe a consolidation if you're not long. What is the report? 212, still pretty good out there. Not bad, but I would look for a buy dip down into this level below 10. Right. You're already long? Good. Hang into it. Maybe look at a 2-hour, 4-hour. You had a good move on Friday, along with all the other healthcare stuff. They're just buying it all. you have to decide how much of a dip. Have you? I'd also recommend that depending upon where you bought it, that if you've got good decent profits, be looking for the wobble around $10 or around 11.40. 8.32. You need to get on the horn and teach us some things about that. Good entry. Yeah. If you haven't taken any profits, I'd take a little bit on the first sign of weakness here. VIAV. Viavi? Huh. This had a nice move up. I'm going to look at a 3-day chart. Nice consolidation. Watch for the move back up. What's the area? All-time highs are right about where we're at. Back in 2011. Yikes. 3-day chart, single day chart. This looks okay. It looks like it's probably doing a bull flag. Could this move up? Kind of a flag or pin it, whether you want to take it down like this, the flag, or that be the pin it. Any move of above 16 looks like it wants to try to go higher. Balance of power is okay. Stochastics RSI is pretty good. Again, where you have to figure out stop, where your targets are. You're probably going to run into sellers at 16 and a quarter. So make sure you got a good reward to risk ratio. Patrick wants to look at Square. Square probably wants to go attack 66 and a half again. Let's look at a 3-day chart. There's a lot of consolidation here. Weekly, you can see it again. I'm going to go over to Square. Yeah, you can see how all the volume is right in here. Square's probably going to go back up and retest this 66 level. What does it do when it gets to 66 level? Thanks, Ed. Great. See you tomorrow. It'll probably pause or maybe do a little bit of a pullback. Now, it's already past earnings. Earnings are way out in the future. Ultimately, I think this gap down area right here, 70, 71, is in play. But you're going to have to get through 67 first. But yeah, that one looks pretty decent. It's trying to recover, let's put it that way. Okay, next one that we've got is AMD long. I hope you're already long AMD. The folks in Right Way Options are long AMD. And they took some profits right about in here around this 36 level. It's basically doing a move up, consolidation sideways move. Move up. I'm expecting another sideways move to pull back somewhere in that. Let's go look at the area chart. All-time highs. Can't beat that. They are pretty much clicking on almost all cylinders right now. They're giving Intel a run for their money in their chips. They're giving NVIDIA a bit of a run for their money on their graphics cards. However, Intel's the big kahuna, and they spend more in R&D in a year than AMD probably has revenue in a year. Okay. Steve Peters wants to look at Churchill Downs, I think is what it is, right? And You were looking for a short. Well, it did the move down, classic. And it does look like it's doing a bear flag. Nice pickup. I'm probably going to want to see it start moving lower and maybe break 125. The first level here is probably going to be 122 or so. And heaven knows where those other levels are. Let's look at Churchill Downs. All right. Yep. This right here is going to be a tough nut to crack, but a retest of 123 is probably, there's a lot of volume here. There's more volume here around 117. So if we can break below the 122 level or so, we do go to 123 to maybe even, heck, 113. Oh, sorry, 117 to 113. And that's why I like to use these volume at price, because where there were people buying before, they will show up again. All right, Sal Carr. Long. Okay, that's a counter trend trade. I am not a big fan of going long something that's in a downtrend. You've probably already heard that a few times. All right. What do we got going on here? Maybe a bit of a bear flag. However, if it gets over this $23 level, the bearish scenario for me is out the window. You're welcome, you too, TD. However, that doesn't make it a long. To me, I don't go long unless I am in an uptrend. Okay, let's hit here. Let's redo this. I need move up, pull back, move up, pull back, move up. I'm trying to buy the pullbacks. Where was Carr longs? Carr was long, buys, back in here, back in here, back in there, back in there. And then it changed character a little bit and got a bit iffy. And then it got up and retested, did a little bit of a breakout and fooled everybody. Right here is where it started to change its character. EMAs went from up, up, up to flat, just a little bit of a break high and a lower high on the moving averages. And if you look at it, we had a bit of a fake out breakout. We established new lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. Then we kind of bottomed out. We tried to form a bottom right about in these areas right in here. Did a reversion to the mean rally, got above the 50, and it actually did change into a slight uptrend. But then we had a nasty day here. Did a consolidation or tried to hold the 50 and didn't make it. And this is kind of where we're at right now. I definitely do not see that as a long. I would not even go long on this one with your money. John, it's after the time I get to cut off, but I'll let you off on this time. On semiconductor. Okay. Higher high, higher low. Higher high, higher low. The next thing we do is a higher high. Problem is, what are we doing with this $22 level? See how we got there once, twice or three times, we'll probably get through it. Let me go on semiconductor here. You see how we got the volume at price here around 21 to 22. right about in here to right about in that 22 level. Let's go out to a 9 month. Yeah, and you can see how 2260 to 2275, these are going to act as significant areas of resistance overhead. So if you're not already long, I don't know if you are already long, and when it gets to 2250, 2260, figure out what it does. The stochastic RSI does look good, and resistance doesn't mean that it's going to stop. We have changed from cut, but you look at this chart. This chart's messy. You know, we are not in longer term uptrend here. There are better charts out there. It's not bad, but it's not great. Okay, we're going to call it quits tonight. I want to thank everybody for showing up. Please come back here next Sunday. I believe either Rick Sadler will be here for the first time in a while, or I will. But regardless, think about giving us a 2-month trial. $49. That's less than $25 a month. Can't beat that with a stick. All right, I will render this very soon and post it up to the YouTube channel as soon as possible. You guys have a great night. Take care.